rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Got some egos to the face, baby I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on a tight frame. All game, no shame.
What is up going on? What is up going on? See, I got nothing today. What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the live show. We have Mr. Denver. We have Mr. Fatboy Bob. It's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to this. And Cesar Penance is in the house, so we are going to financially break him by making him buy camera gear. This is going to be an epic show.
Oh, just wait till I meet him in a Harley dealership next month, and you want to see him go financially broke.
Well, he's going to make you buy a 131 then. That's the problem. Or a 130 done, or whatever we're calling it this week.
I'm going to make him get a spare. So, you know.
Yeah, he would need one. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So also, we are doing the Custom Dynamics giveaway for the 2 roadside flares tonight. We're going to probably do that about 8:30, so about a half hour. So, yeah, the gang's back together. This is awesome. So what's going on there, Mr. Fatboy? What's new? What's happening?
You know, nothing much is going on right now. I'm super excited to be here. And, you know, this is pretty much going to be the highlight of my week, to be honest.
I'm so sorry that you really should set the bar way higher. I mean, I don't. It's not the highlight of my week. It shouldn't be yours. Oh, no, that's awesome, man. I'm really glad we had a chance to finally sit and talk. So I guess let's start as we always like to do. Let's give us the elevator pitch. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Do you like show tunes? Whatever you got.
So my name's Fatboy Bob. I have a YouTube channel, Instagram. I'm pretty much on all social medias, and I do pretty much everything motorcycle-based content. I do everything from reviews to test rides, and also long-distance hauls, moto camping, you name it, I do it. He doesn't look fat. Trust me, it's all in the beer belly.
It's all in the angles.
And what else do I got? I am based out of, right now, like Roanoke, southwestern Virginia area.
Okay.
And I have recently moved up here from Florida, so I'm very much enjoying the mountains instead of the northeast, south, and west Florida. And I listen to all types of music, but when I'm ready to rip it through the mountains, I definitely put on my heavy metal to help me focus and start ripping through it.
Oh, so where are we going for heavy metal? So let's just go hard from the beginning. So you're on that perfect stretch of road, you're jamming. What's the go-to jam? What's the song that like just gets you in that zone?
Pretty much anything five-fingered Death Punch.
Okay.
Yes. Little Ivan Moody. I love it.
Yes.
Nice.
I would love to go through his house. It's like a fucking rock and roll museum.
I would love to go through pretty much anyone that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's house, because the amount of crap that they have just laying around their house that you know is worth millions of dollars, just to be able to breathe the air they breathe.
I could see that being interesting.
I seen a deal. Some people went through his house. Some of the collectibles he has, I mean, from all different genres of music and years, and God, just watching, it's fucking amazing the stuff that he has in his collection.
That's yeah, I could see that being cool. So what's in your stable, sir? What are you rocking?
Oh yes, the real big question. I guess that is the truth. Why most
That's
people
a true
come to
question.
a motorcycle?
Because then we're going to more carry about your camera gear later, but we'll get that out for like the other people here.
So right now I am riding a 2021 Harley-Davidson Road King Special. I am in the middle of a performance bagger build. I'm trying to build that out. I'm trying to price everything out, and that's eventually coming. I started out on I pretty much bought every single one of my bikes new. Again, don't recommend doing that. I was stupid. I started out on a 1200 iron and then went over to a fatbob, which is hence why I got the name Fatboy Bob. Fatboy, ran a fatbob. And now, because the fatbob broke, I had to get a Road King Special because I like to do my hundreds of miles in a single day riding.
Very nice. So what's your current record? What do you sit at in a longest day in the saddle?
Longest day in the saddle was 1,600 miles.
Nice.
Damn.
That's some serious miles. So talk about that. Where did you start? Where'd you finish?
I started in Miami and went all the way up to Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So that
Very
was
nice.
a little bit hurtful, needless to say.
Now how close? So 1,600 miles in what? Like 22 hours? 21?
I did it pretty much in 24 hours.
Okay.
Which
That's
was
impressive. That's
it was
really impressive.
pretty much nonstop at that point. I don't think I
Were you running from the law? I mean, was there anything that possessed you to do it?
I did it to simply get away, and I realized I tried to get there, leave at a really fucking early time, and try to get there at a really good time too. Just wanted to keep it time based. That was my worry. Just
Now, was that something that
Yeah.
you had planned out, or did you just get on your bike, point north, and go, well, screw it, let's go?
kind of both. I was like,
Okay.
I think I was going to visit my parents, so I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go visit them, and then I was like, oh, I'll take the bike, and I was like, oh, let's do it in a day. So kind of like oh, I want to go see them, but let's do it real quick.
I
That's
like
an
it.
impressive freaking haul.
Yeah. Now, what was your previous jump before that? Like, what was your milestone before that?
Like 500.
That's a serious
Oh, that's great.
push yourself. Can I do it? Test the limits physically and mentally.
I mean, and that's also part of riding. You have to figure out where your limit is, and I've definitely figured out where my limit is now, and that is definitely my limit. But you're never gonna know until you actually try it. You
Very
just have
true.
to know when that limit is, and have to say to yourself, okay, now I need to pull over and find a hotel, which I wasn't afraid to say and do.
Which is good. Mrs. Monkey's in the house. Good afternoon. Good evening, Mrs. Monkey. You're the reason we're all here. Well, no, I guess we
Always.
wouldn't be, but we're our biggest fan. That's a hell of a, yeah, because I want to say our jump was like 300 to 400 to 700. And you're going almost triple of that. That's really impressive.
Uh, Again, that's why. And I did the 500 on the fatbob, and so I was like, that's pushing the limits on that bike. And so from there, that's when I was just like, if I really want to go farther, I need to get the Road King. And so that's when I did it on the Road King.
Hey, Brian, I'm going to take a time out. I got to go congratulate the newest motorcycle rider in the family.
Okay, well, when you come back, we'll talk about that.
All right.
So
I'm
how much-
removing you, but I'm putting you back, buddy. Don't worry. You're not banned yet from the show
yet.
that he knows of.
So how much planning went into 1,600 miles? There was a little planning that went into it. It was pretty much like the day before that I kind of decided I'm going to do it on the bike. And that was when I like literally went, okay, I have these points. I fill up at this amount of miles, and I want to do it in this time frame. How much time I go this fast? How long do I have at each gas station to keep it within this amount of time? And that's pretty much all I did. And I know,
Nice.
like certain states, it's a lot harder to find gas stations, i.e., South Carolina. And so from there, I just said, let's be real careful going through South Carolina. Find a gas station. If I start getting low, pull over, get it, whenever I need to. But any other states, I kind of just was like, oh, I'm getting low. Okay, I have 50 miles. I'll wait till I get down to 20, and then I'll start looking for a gas station.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I found when we had the Intruder 1500 was the bike before this. I think we'd get maybe like 130 miles out of the tank. It was a really small tank for a big bike. And I was constantly like, when I hit halfway, I need gas. Like it can't be any other way because the gas gauge, it's a 2001, it's inaccurate. Yeah, I think that's a safe way to be because so many people want to push it because they're so worried about time. Well, if you run out of gas, you're done. So
Yeah.
you have to balance the risk reward.
And so, like, for me right now, I know I can get from where I'm at all the way down to South Carolina on one gas tank. So I don't need to fill up any other time. So like, that's a
Nice.
nice thing for me to know if I'm ever going back down to Florida, which I will be in October again. But
that's the one thing that I really separate, whether it wasn't a Harley and you couldn't do things to it in the comfort level. That was the number one thing that bothered me with the intruder, was that you couldn't get on it. You were constantly thinking about gas. Like I think mine gets like, before the tune was getting like 230 a tank, let's call it, before it hits the low fuel. That's a good range.
That is a good range.
And it's like, it's so much more comfortable when you don't have to think about, what am I doing the next 100 miles? Because that rips, I mean, that flies by on the turnpike. It's frustrating.
I know. God, what was I going to say? Feel like I have ADHD, so if I ever just like, I'm gonna say something and it just like leaves my head all the time. So ignore me when it comes to that. Forgot what I was gonna say. Whatever.
We don't. It's the day I'm having. I'm just this is good. We're just talking. It's good.
Oh,
so okay.
The fatbob itself, actually, I was lucky if I got over 150 miles on that. So when I was doing like my 500-mile range on that, that was, that's pushing it. 150 miles. That's a lot of gas stops for that single trip.
Yeah.
And so just 150 miles on the bike. And so now I'm able to get, if I'm doing nothing but highway, about 250, maybe if I'm lucky, 300 miles on that bike.
Yeah. It's amazing that once you get a bike of that size and capability, how much it changes your thought process, because you're not thinking about like, oh, but if I take this back road for 70 miles, I could theoretically be questionable, or, whatever. Hi, Winnie. Yes, it's Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for letting Ty join us. You're the best, Winnie. That's the one thing that I love about my bike, is that even, you can take the tour pack off, then you have a glorified street glide, but you're not limited by range for several things. Your comfort, what you can bring with you, like with the Road King, right? It changes your whole perception of what riding could be.
Yep.
And then I see people show up on these rides with there you go. He just showed up too. Moto Noggin shows up after, what was it, 600 miles of ride in Moto Noggin. He shows up from upper state New York to the Baggers and Brews ride with a backpack on. I'm like, that's a man that travels on a Sportster S. I mean, and that bike's no joke, but to push down those a lot of miles, a lot of credit.
My back is just hurting thinking about carrying a backpack for 600 miles.
Yeah. But I think it's also a credit too of what anyone can do if they want to do it. Like if that's, I always laughed because when I first started, he did have everything in his backpack. That's really funny. When I first started riding, I had a Bergman 400cc scooter, and people were like, oh, it's a 400. You'll never be able to go on the turnpike. You won't be able to do this. You won't be able to do that. I did it. It's like the bike wasn't the limitation. It was the ability to just do it. It's amazing what people talk themselves out of.
Every person is different, both mentally and physically. So thus, depending on what your mental status is, you can handle a lot more than what you physically can sometimes. But if you are, if you have two hip replacements, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to do that ride for you.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, unfortunately, especially newer riders. It's like, well, this bike isn't as cool. Possibly, but is this bike going to give you what you need? You know what I mean? Like you can't look at my bike, or, you can't look at a full blown touring bike and then look at a lowrider ST and go, well, they're just as cool. They are to the right person. Do you know what I mean? But they're not necessarily, there's no one answer, to that.
Yeah. I try to see them as different tools for
exactly.
Jobs.
Exactly. Hey, NC, thank you so much for signing up to be a member of the channel. Junior, thank you so much for the sticker, sir. I greatly appreciate that. You guys are the best. And Harley Fatboy Jr. has a Harley Fatboy. See? So everybody's getting their namesake in today. Now, I think that it's important to remember too that motorcycles are purpose driven. It's I was surprised how well my bike still acts as a commuter bike, even though it's an 900-pound bike.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. Once you get used to it, it doesn't feel like a 900-pound bike.
Well, I mean, especially Harleys. Harleys don't feel like a 900-pound bike because they're
balanced.
They're balanced and they're designed well. One of my friends has a Kawasaki Vulcan Vaquero. I think that's the right one.
Okay.
It's a Kawasaki Road Glide. That's how I'm going to put it.
Yes, I've been on it. I've sat on it. I've never ridden it, but I've sat on it. Yes.
They are not very well balanced at all. So much higher up, and it's like a lot more further back the weight is that you'd think. So all you're dipping in, it just feels really hard and jerky, and then it also just feels like you're lugging behind something.
Yes.
And so it's very weird in that way.
I will say this, and I'm sure I'll get hate for it, and I'm only speaking to the cruiser side of it, not the sport touring, but I feel like Harley has it down, and that's the benchmark, like the comfort and the ability to do what you want with it. Because we were talking about this last night. I feel like whatever I put into my bike to make it my own is so much better than the newest thing, because it fits me like a glove. Like, I love when people sit on my bike and like, this doesn't fit me. It shouldn't. It's not supposed to fit you. It fits me. Hey, Humble, hold on a second. See, I got your shirt on. Hold on, I want to show you. Thank you for the shirt, by the way. Sorry, I haven't seen him in a while. I think it's funny when people say that. They're like, well, your bike doesn't fit me. It's not supposed to. Unless you're the poster child of that 5'9" person that weighs the ideal weight that Harley builds bikes for, which I don't quite understand because they don't exist. But neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, 160-pound person is meant to be on a like soft tail, and then if you're anything over 160 pounds, you're supposed to be on a touring bike.
Yeah, I think it's really clever when you look at the gross manufacturing weight and they tell you what the ratings are, and you're like, in what world? This may be how the bike's engineered, but in what world could you really say that that's a practical solution?
Hell, I mean, look at Shade Tree Surgeon. He rides he's going to go ride a freaking Sportster across the Trans-America Trail.
Again, it's one of those things that shows that if you have the mindset that the vehicle is not the limitation by any means.
Oh, not even.
Uh-oh. He has arrived back.
We got trouble.
Right.
So what was it like? Is he excited? So tell them what happened today so people aren't getting this out of context.
Actually, he's right here. No, my son went down.
Well, bring him on if you want for a second. I don't care.
Hey, do you want to jump on for a minute? He went down and did his
good answer. I mean, sorry.
So he could get his permit right now. Then he has 180 days to go back and take the next riding test and written test so he can get his endorsement put on his license.
Very nice.
We can go out and start riding maybe this weekend or next week. Because out here in Washington, you got a 3-day waiting period to get it put on your license. Yeah, and we're going into a holiday weekend, so
Well, I mean, what you should have done is made him buy a Harley, because I know for a good fact you don't need a license if you have a Harley. The police don't even care. They just see it as their obligation that you're American.
Right.
It's like sorry, sir, you're an American? Oh, you can ride this Harley without a license. You don't even worry about speed limit. We don't care. It's America.
Yeah, no worries.
I mean, I think if they pull you over and you're riding a Harley, they should get the ticket. It should be on them.
Yeah.
I wish that was my case.
I will say this. I mean, knock on wood, I don't feel like that bike ever attracts attention. Like in the sense of like, I feel like when a sport bike goes by, people are looking at it like it's a sport bike. But you could go by at 100 miles an hour. And my bike doesn't look like it's moving. I'm not crouched in. I'm just, kicked up on the pegs. I don't know.
Sleeper bikes, they help.
Yeah, true.
But how do you get? But the question though is,
I got to move the mouse to hit the thing. I was like, beep, shit.
You need tech support, Denver. So how do you make the sleeper bike and keep the exhaust sleeper? What's the trick to that?
You're muted, by the way.
I know.
Okay. Didn't look like it. Sleeper exhaust. Well, I mean, that really depends on the exhaust, you know? Like, exactly like how I was saying with my exhaust. It really just depends on who's making it and how they manufacture it. So
I can see that.
my exhaust itself right now, I'm staying below 2,500 RPMs, just cruising around town. It sounds like maybe a little bit louder than stock. Not too bad. But then if I give it a good whack and I start putting it above 3,000, I definitely have a lot of people start covering their ears. I'll say that much.
There you go. You pulled the baffles and everything, right? You pulled the baffles.
I still have the baffles in. I just removed the cat out of it.
Oh, that's right. You moved the cat, not the baffles. So yeah, before we getting into that, what is it that you did to the bike? Because that was a relatively new video that you dropped.
Yes. So I ended up doing a stage 1 to the bike, and that was just was on Facebook, like how pretty much every other good story starts. On Facebook, it was going through
that or hold my
Marketplace.
beer.
Yep. And at that point, I just was like on Marketplace, scrolling around. One of my friends my neighbor's buddy was actually looking for exhaust, and so I was looking, and I just found the exhaust I have for sale. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a really good freaking price. Like, I'm going to ask him if this is real. I'm like, hey, are you actually selling it for this price? And he's like, yeah, for this price, include shipping. I'll ship it over to you tomorrow. I'm like, hell, deal. Paid it right then and there. Got it a couple days later. Was missing a couple parts, so I just contacted S&S, spent an extra couple bucks, and bought a tuner. And now we're there. So the exhaust itself is normally $1,200 brand new. I got it for
cheap.
I got it for $350.
Jeez.
Damn, that's a steal.
It is a steal.
And I assume it was pretty clean.
It wasn't when he had it. I was in his photos. It looked really horrible, but he actually did all the work for me that I was planning on doing. He already like sanded everything down and repainted it and everything. Did all of the work that I was going to do to it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's say welcome to the Pro Monkey Nation. Mr. and Mrs. Monkey and the Pro Monkey Nation has arrived. Howdy, guys. Just, professional monkey, that guy that got a 131 engine. No big deal.
Yeah.
The jealousy is real right now.
The jealousy is real. Everyone watched that video and was like, they sent me a sticker, though. So, don't think, I didn't get something. I jokingly replied, I was like, yeah, well, Harley-Davidson called me today, too. I was late with my payment, but it's not the point. They called. That's awesome, Monk. I'm so proud of you. I think it's fantastic that they're doing that with you.
I know I need to hook up. I need to get a Pro Monkey sticker to add to my sticker wall in the tour pack.
You do? Well, if you're not rocking Pro Monkey stickers, I mean, jeez. That's true. Yeah, I'm going to build a 132 build. Monkey said it's all about that last inch that matters. So we'll see.
That's right. Yeah, that's what she said.
We'll do the build out. So, Mr. Bob, what got you on the? What got you? Well, you know what? Let's not get into that because I want to do the drawing at the half hour. We'll do it in a minute. But what? So you put it on. You took the cat out yourself, and then you did a tune because you're using the same tuner that Monk has, I believe. You want to tell us about that?
I'm using the Dynajet Power Vision, which I am absolutely in love with because of the 100% ease of use with it. It's actually very easy to use. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be like a complete mess buying into it. Super nervous, but it's super straightforward. And the amount of customability you can do into it, it's exactly like how you have your FP3, or you had your FP3, I should say.
Let's not talk about my FP3.
Yeah. So we'll say other competitor tuners.
Other competitors. Your name could be here.
But how they have their drop-ins. So you have your single already built maps already right in there, which is super nice. And then right from there, they don't even have exhaust. So that's not even a worry. They just go, is this a 2-to-1? And have you done this to your air intake? Cool. Or like, have you done a stage 2? What's the lope on it? And then what have you done before that too? Like what's your type of exhaust? So it's super basic. and they kind of form it to that. And then they expect you to run the auto tune after that too. So, and that's super simple. You then just load up the auto tune, you run it a couple times, and every single time it tells you how much better the map has become. And I watched it every single time I ran with it. It became 10 to 15% better of a map for the bike.
And see, that's what I thought the FP3 lacked. It didn't lack a whole lot of input. It seemed like you were doing some magical stuff, and the magical beans went over there, but it wasn't giving you feedback.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Now, how long do you think what do you think that tune process took, hour-wise?
The tune process itself, like the initial one?
Yeah, like so you fire up the bike for the first time.
5
How
minutes.
many hours do you think you spent before you were comfortable with that?
Before I was comfortable with it?
Yeah. So in other words, I guess like when would you say you put an hour, 2 hours no auto tuning it?
Oh no, it took me 5 minutes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's literally super straightforward. And there's also amazing videos by JP Cycles that go over how to do it. And you just pretty much hit accept of like, don't look at the screen, and accept this is going to change my tune. That's it.
Okay.
And then...
Because no one would do that under a Harley warranty. I mean, that's just blasphemy.
I know. Well, I am under warranty, so oops.
Be like, I don't know. It came from the factory that way. I have no idea what happened.
That's how I bought it off the showroom floor.
Did it?
And then then the actual auto tuning sessions, you just hit start auto tune. That's it. And then you go right at how you normally would. And you can save up to 8 tunes on there, which is absolutely amazing. So you could have it saved as like a touring tune, a racing tune, or a like high altitude tune. There we go. English is hard today. And then you could also save a like low altitude tune or whatever you wanted to, or how I like to do it. You can just combine all of them above, so it knows how to handle any situation when you're riding. So when you take it off, it knows how to handle it.
Okay. Very cool.
Exactly what I did to it. So I pretty much have no backfire or anything from it, and it is just an amazing tune. I'm in love with that tuner.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with the FP3 in the sense that I felt like it was doing something, and it clearly did something. It clearly tuned the bike better than it was, but I felt like I wasn't getting a whole lot of information. Like you could ride for 45 minutes to an hour, you'd flash it, but you weren't going to be able, at least I couldn't figure out a way easily to go back and say, okay, this is what I've accomplished. Like, have I filled the entire grid, or have I just sort of filled it for the way I'm riding today? Yeah. So, and I could see the appeal of that. That's definitely interesting. I thought it was odd until you made the case for it of putting it up on the handlebars. To me, I thought that was kind of like a weird steal me while I'm at a bike rally kind of thing.
Yeah. So my question for you about the FP3 is that, can you go back to your like previous tune that you had before too? Like if you did your auto tunes and like this most recent auto tune, you felt like messed it up, could you go back to your previous auto tune?
Yeah, you could go back. I forget how many it stores. Maybe it's 4. I'm just throwing a number out there. So you could have auto tune 1, then your base tune that you flashed it to, and then your base tune that it brought it from. So it puts that initial tune in it and then says, okay, here's the initial tune. Let's build from there. Okay. And you can build, a lot of people do that. They build a, like a 1-up tune versus a 2-up tune. Again, it's like we talked about yesterday. For me, there's no appeal to that, but I could see if you wanted it, it certainly does it.
Yeah.
And to me, I wanted the easy button. Just push the easy button, make it work. Just want to go out and rip.
Just tune it and let me ride.
Exactly. I think sometimes you can get a little too involved in it. I was talking to a builder the other day about getting headers and getting cams in mind, and he's going on, and I'm like, I get what you're telling me, but I don't think I'm going to ever know there's a 1% difference ever. But sure, if that's what you were going to tell me right away, he's like, you need to get rid of your pipes. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
What's the old saying? It's like $3,000 for 50% performance increase, but it's $100,000 for the last 1% increase.
Yep. Everybody's chasing those magical numbers, and they're trying to go for that last piece of the puzzle, which I personally am not a fan of. I'd rather have reliability over numbers.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
I mean, reliability and longevity.
Well, I think that's what Monkey was saying about with the crate motor. Is you get the crate motor, it's going to start every time. If you build it out, God only knows what's going to happen. You know, and I don't, especially for me, for a touring bike, I want more power, I want better sound, but I don't need that extra 2% that's going to leave me dead on the highway. You know, unless I start doing endos and like, you know, doing trick riding. But if that happens, it's a one-time event. It's before the crash.
Listen,
So
I don't think you're Sea Bear, so I think you're fine.
Sea Bear,
Sea Bear stunts.
Man, that's a name I hadn't heard in a while, and he popped up into my feed the other day.
He's coming on in the near future.
Oh wait, we're talking about two people. You're talking about Sea Bear. I'm talking about G Bear.
Oh, I thought you.
Do you know who G Bear is?
No.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. His original channel was Grommy Bear. And he started by riding around with not a life size, I don't know what you call it, a teddy bear the size of a person on the back of his Grom. And when people would stop him at stoplights, obviously he's filming, he would say, oh, it's a gift from my girlfriend. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And it just became this really like crazy, weird channel for a while. That's who I thought you were talking about. That's funny. So who's Sea Bear?
Sea Bear stunts.
Yeah. You got me. Keep going. Nothing.
He's a stunt rider.
Have you seen those videos of the guy on Road Glide doing a whole bunch of wheelies and rolling burnouts through like the highway and stuff like that?
Yeah, I feel like that's my whole feed some days, but yeah.
90% of that stuff is him.
Is him. Okay. I know is it Too Slick? There's a bunch of them that escape me at this point, but yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, you can see a bunch of those with Sea Bear. He's doing those in that nice Crash Inc. windbreaker.
He's also the guy that he was practicing, and he was in the warehouse, and he flipped it, and it crashed on his chest. I don't know if you saw that video. Yeah.
I didn't see that one, no.
I don't think I need to see that to know it would hurt.
Oh, he was fine. But, you know, just having a whole Road Glide come down on your chest, that sounds fun, doesn't it?
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
The only thing that I have an issue with that is, and I see a lot of companies that are putting money into that, it concerns me when they're doing it on a live road because I feel like it's sending the wrong message. Like if you do it on a closed area, you knock yourself out. But I feel like if you're doing it on a road, it's like, you know, am I going to be the guy that's driving my kid to school and you blow through my car with your Dyna? And then it's like, all right, well, yeah, okay. You know, I don't know.
It kind of goes along with people doing photo shoots at going down freeways at 80, 90 miles an hour and then get a wreck and want to cry foul. I don't know.
I think there's a certain level of your responsibility to it that it sends the wrong message to the community, but I also know it gets views. So I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah.
So we are giving away 2 of the Custom Dynamics LED road flares that we had the contest going for. I think we've only had about 23 entries. So I'm a little disappointed on that, but we are giving 2 of those away. So we are going to do that right now. How we're going to run this is going to be the random wheel generator because we've learned from the last time how to do giveaways smoother. And we're going to draw that. We're going to draw 2 winners back to back, and then you can just reach out to me via Instagram, or I'll reach out to you, and we will make sure that is in the mail for you tomorrow. Thanks to good folks, Custom Dynamics. So I'm going to try and do this live. We'll see how this goes. All right. So we are going to pull up the big wheel, which is not working because why would it? Hold on. There you go. So let's give it a whirl.
Let's get a drum roll, please.
Big money, big money, big money, big money. DDKTN. Now, DDK, that means for at least the next 5 minutes, you can't threaten to shank me. We appreciate your support as always. And congratulations. But, there is a 5-minute cooling off period after you win to try and shank me. All right. So we're going to remove DDK. Thank you so much for entering. I know it doesn't maybe mean a lot to you guys, but entering that and having that engagement, that's a relationship with Custom Dynamics I'm proud to have. So I really appreciate them helping us out. So we're going to hit it again.
Who we got?
No whammy, 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 no whammy. Mike will bike. What?
Nice.
I wonder what Mike does. Oh, he bikes.
Or he will.
Now
he's riding out wheels before he bikes.
Exactly. But no, guys, thank you very much. Your support and that kind of stuff is what drives the channel and gets people to work with us. So we really do appreciate it. Because we would be nothing without you, literally.
Right.
So thank you. And just shoot me or I'll shoot you guys in IM tonight or tomorrow. And just remember, DDK, it's a 5-minute hold. You could lose your prize if you shank me before the 5 minutes. So just behave. That's all I ask. We're all friends here. DDK is in a big shout out that he's in the Baggers and Brewers Discord. And if you haven't joined their community, you need to. They have a really solid community. They turned out a fantastic ride this weekend through the Jersey Pines. I would have ordered weather less than it wasn't 100 degrees, but it still was a great time.
Hey, at least it wasn't rain.
Yeah. It was a lot of really, really good YouTubers in there. So it was a good time.
Nice.
So awesome. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Thanks again, guys. You, Mrs. Monkey, wanted an autograph. Oh, stop. Flattery will get you everywhere. It's in the mail. Don't worry about it. You have to wait for my calendar. Once my calendar comes out, Mrs. Monkey, I'll get you a first edition copy.
Every month will be signed with a heart around his birthday.
Bikes and Bry.
Is that the name of your autobiographical?
Well, it's a side hustle, Sometimes you got to keep the side hustle separate from the real hustle,
Oh, that's good.
Junior did that. You have to look up Harley Fatboy Jr.'s little dance that he did on Instagram. It was pretty. He did the Magic Mike dance, and then he fell off the stool. It was perfect.
I think I saw that. Now that you say that,
yeah, it was
freaking hysterical.
It was. I didn't know he did it, and I'm like scrolling through my feed in the morning, and I'm like, yeah. What in the living hell is he doing? Because you didn't get that it was a joke at first, and then he goes flying off the stool at the end, which made it perfect.
It was good
stuff.
So actually, Fatboy, you also made the comment earlier that you enjoy moto camping.
Oh yes, definitely. That's actually
like with bugs.
Yeah, with bugs.
All right, Denver, can you just talk to him for a while? I'm going to be uncomfortable.
No way, dude. Moto camping's a shit. It's fun. So what's kind of your little what kind of setup you got for it?
I have like a 2-person tent that I keep that literally fits in like this big of a little bag. Little tiny air mattress and a little tiny pillow that both fit up about this big. And I'm very minimalistic. I like to take like the bare minimum. I'll bring some like fire starters, but then I'll bring like a little pack up saw, cut my own wood, cut my own everything. And then whatever I absolutely need, I'll bring it. So like, I don't know. Like I just keep everything as minimalistic as possible. And then
good night, Bill.
If I like to, I will also go hammock camping, which is, in my opinion, some of the best camping, but that also is very dependent on weather.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is dependent on weather. I mean, I got a nice hammock with plus, the full rain cover tarp over the top, and it does have the bug net too, which can be nice. Mm-hmm. But then also, hammocks are also going to depend on your area where you live or what you're doing. Some areas like me, maybe down south, hammock camping really ain't going to work for you, but it is a nice setup because it's so small to pack up too. There are some of these new tents, but yeah, hammocks are a ticket.
When I was living down in Florida, I actually always carried a tribal hammock in one of my bags, just because I would pull over on the side of the beach, find a couple trees, and just lay out in front of the beach with my bike and just enjoy the views.
I like.
All right, I need to. We're going to take a segue. We're coming right back to you camping, but I have to see if this is going to work because I want to see if I can share this video. Because if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Hold on here.
Here comes the embarrassment for Harley Fatboy Jr.
Oh, no. He should
No,
have no
not that
shame in
one.
his game. Not for this one. Hold on.
Oh, oh shit!
We see it one more time.
Oh shit!
I mean, he's got that smoky look in his eyes. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, entering the stage, the man you love, Harley Fatboy Jr. He's special. I like.
He practiced.
Oh yeah.
You bring up a good point. How many times do you think you practiced that?
How many?
Do you think he was like showing it to
camera?
He sent it to all his homeboys. Like, what do you think of this move? Is it the steel? Is it the fire? Like,
What do you think of take 15? But in take 30, did you see the knee movement? Yeah.
Well, Denver, in all fairness, he has both our numbers. We probably should be glad we weren't part of that. Hey, guys, could I get your opinion on a video? Yeah, what's up? Oh, geez, I didn't see that. Oh, man.
It was epic.
Funny. That was... We're a great community.
Yeah.
Yes, Mrs. Monkey, that is me every Friday night. Don't judge me. By the way, speaking of Friday night, Katie's birthday is coming up. We are going to do a special live stream. Not this Friday. It's coming up June 10th. We are going to do a live stream. Assuming we're not stepping on anybody. That's going to be one you're going to want to not miss. There's going to be alcohol involved. It's going to be bad.
Oh, yeah.
If you could bring a chicken this time,
Costco
Denver.
Box.
Yeah.
I will be bringing my bourbon to drink alongside you guys.
Yes,
Kate will have the
please.
Costco box wine ready to go.
Yeah. Oh. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. We don't let her in the box wine anymore. That was a mistake. It was good for views. It was bad for the rest of my weekend. But yeah, that should be a really good time. So I guess, Bob, now we can turn this into a nerd fest. And you'd brought up some really good points when we talked the other day. Let's talk about the space that's YouTube. I know we got way, way deep. So Bob actually threw me off my own video call yesterday. It was really funny because we wouldn't stop talking. I haven't had that happen, and I really appreciated it because I would have never gone to eat. What got you into this space? Like what was there? What made you decide that you wanted to become as you say, a creator? And I don't mean that derogatory. I know that that's a term that's dear to you. So let's talk about that. Like what made you decide that at this day and age or this time you wanted to become a creator?
So I actually wanted to start it way before I did. And I guess the only thing that was holding me back at that time was just looking at like, oh, there's all these people, there's all these channels. What is going to separate me from everyone else? And I kind of just had to take a moment and go like, that doesn't matter right now. If I just want to start it, I need to start it. But my whole purpose of wanting to actually start the channel was kind of just to share knowledge that I myself, as I'm learning, I want other people to know too. Because I actually haven't been riding very long. I have only been riding since right before the pandemic. So I've only been riding since 2020.
Well, then you couldn't have ridden 600 miles. It's all a lie. Lies. It all unfolds. But that's awesome, man. Congrats.
And so another part of that is like, as this has been evolving, I've been trying to make my channel more along the lines of like, yeah, I'm doing all these cool things that like I like to do and I think is really important for me and fun for me. But I also I'm trying to be the person that I wish I had when I started riding, because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have anyone. I didn't like know exactly where to go. Like, yes, there was Yami Noob, but there's only so much that he does in his top 10 videos. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be that person of like, okay, cool. Like, you're wanting to get into riding. You can go into a simple parking lot and you can do these really simple things and you spend 10 minutes and you will actually be probably twice as good on your bike as when you first started.
I think that's good. So where do you where do you feel you are on that journey? Like, do you feel that you're developing at a pace you're comfortable with? I mean, did you find that? I know what I'm trying to say, and I'm struggling today. Do you feel that what you started out to do is still evolving to that, or did you have to pivot?
It's both. It's
Okay.
very much both. It's still going in the direction that I originally wanted, but as of right now, and we were talking about this yesterday, I'm not 100% sure that this is the direction that people are wanting it to go. Like, I'm happy to make videos that people want to see, and like I've noticed, like all of my test rides and review videos are way up here, like immediately skyrocketing. Everyone loves that. But then a lot of my, like, if you're wanting to improve your riding, no one cares about their riding. Everyone thinks they're the best rider in the world. when in fact, if they tried doing a 10-foot radius turn, they would drop the bike. Like, they don't know. They don't want to admit they're a bad rider.
It's like a flow chart. Can't make a U-turn, but what headers do I need?
Yes.
No, and that's but in all fairness, right? Like that unfortunately is probably the reality of it.
Yeah. And so I love teaching people. Like, my father was a teacher, my mother was a teacher for a little bit, my sister's a teacher too. So like all of these things, like, it's kind of been in our family blood to be teachers and help people teaching whenever we can. And so I love doing that. But not a lot of people like being told they're wrong.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
I'll do the videos people want to do, and I'll make the videos I like, and I'm trying to find that middle ground right now.
Well, I think, what you touched on is, everybody thinks they can ride, but when you try to get, a little bit more technical, like you're talking, 10-foot U-turns or turns, practicing in a parking lot, I think people feel, I can turn off the side road onto the highway, I can go down the highway and go A to B. I don't need to worry about that. And I think that's a big part of a lot of that.
And then I definitely agree with that. But then my counterpoint is, when a car pulls out in front of you and you got to put it to you're scraping on the floorboards so you don't hit that car, are you going to be able to make that turn then?
That's a valid point.
Yes, and that's, you see that all the time with the group rides, right? Everybody wants the big ride in the group ride, but they've never done it before. But they didn't take the time out to understand how, basic road communication works and so forth. And I mean, but that also gets me into the burn of our industry, is that not all dealers, and you can't paint it with a broad brush, but I would think at least 50% of the dealers, you could walk in with a brand new wet license like Denver Sun and buy anything. And there's no like, well, maybe we should talk you off the ledge here a little bit. It's I think as an industry, we need to do a better job.
I will say,
yes, a newbie in a column ride is scary shit.
All I can think of is the Forgotten Angels massive ride that I did with that. I think there was like 300 bikers going over to Forgotten Angels, and there was definitely some newbies, and it was definitely scary. But that's where you also have to figure out where you're comfortable with and knowing where you want to be positioned in that. So for me, I like keeping an eye on everyone, and I also always carry like a good first aid with me. So I like being in the back in case shit hits the fan. I can help, I can pull over, I can stop, I can see everything that's happening in front of me, and I can help if I need to.
Yeah.
True.
But I also think, though, it's a hard sell too, because, and I'm not a professional in this, in my opinion, a lot of times people think, well, I should go to the back, and then they get accordioned out because they're following people that don't have throttle control. So they're just constantly,
Or, throttle control, or also, as we said a minute ago, you got people that are new and nervous, so they're going to be, backed way off from the next person. You're going to have a 20, 30-foot gap in there, and you'll see it a lot in group rides. I had the same thing, when the ride I went on for, the charity ride this weekend. A lot of the guys, you could tell who was experienced, and you can kind of tell the people that were a little gun shy, a little nervous, because, it's not, they're backed way off. You're kind of out of the formation a little bit. But at least they're riding in their comfort zone also, which I think isn't a bad thing. And it's, there are a lot of those rides where it's more, it's it's nice to have stagger, but it's also nice when people know their limit and say, that's not me. I'm not ready for that. I'm gonna, hold back a little bit, and this is my comfort zone. This is my bubble, and I think that's also a smart thing when people also understand their limits.
Yes, and I think at some point the responsible thing that, well, not at some point, you need to know that if it gets too bad, you just need to be done.
Yeah,
And
don't be afraid to
you
leave.
need to accept that. We when we did that ride through New Hope the one year where the cop dumped his Road King, I just turned to Katie. She's on the back. I'm like, get off and find a cop car. We're not having this discussion. I'm like, it's a police escorted ride. They'll take you back with us. They know where we're going. I'm like, there's just that point where you've hit a limit where it's like, if you're going down and I don't have anywhere near the skills that you have, we're out. There's just, and I think it's a shame because I think people don't know to walk away from it. Moto Noggin has a great story. He did the Baggers and Brews ride this weekend and somebody's headlight fell off and almost took his whole bike out.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Talk about a new way to be to be going towards the light, right?
Yeah. I'm like, that's, wow, that's gotta suck. Yes, and to Monkey's point too, there's going to be people that one per class that aren't going to pass. There were people that passed my PA safety class. I don't know how they passed. I mean, I was like, this is the scariest thing in the world, and you passed. But I guess it all comes down to somebody's perception of what's acceptable. Go into the light.
Yeah.
And that also gets to the thing too, that you're doing a group ride with people that may or may not have went over their bike. They may not have checked anything. They may have not done their T-clock or any of that. So you really have to be constantly prepared. Like when your headlight falls off, that's a pretty big deal. I did hear, and I may be wrong, and somebody that was on the ride this weekend chime in, somebody lost their side bag too, because they had the older style that what the 14s had for 2 years, because that's how long it takes Harley to figure out they did something stupid. They had the little push twist, so you pushed it in and it barely turned, like not even
cam lock.
Yeah, and they'd since replaced it with the one that has the deep screw in, like we all have now, or the newer bikes. And somebody was saying they lost their bag, and it you're going to kill somebody doing that.
Well, I don't remember which Harley it was. My dad he bought one of his new ones.
On Skinny Bob had it, okay.
And the dealership delivered it to his house. They're unloading out of the trailer. He goes like 200 yards up his driveway, 300 yards down the road, and goes to get on the main road, and the fucking saddlebag fell off. It was brand new from the dealership. And it bounced down the side of the road through a corner. It was brand new off the showroom floor and wasn't put on correctly.
That's what I'm saying, because when I got that, I was petrified to take my bags off to clean them, because I'm like, this isn't going to hold. At some point, it's going to fall off. And then, of course, the guys in the part department are like, oh, it's an easy fix. It's only $65 for the right part. But
You mean the one that should have come from the factory?
yeah. Because I'm trying to think, like, how would that go over, right? Like, how do you call the dealership and be like, it fell off and it was your fault? They're never going for that, even if it was.
It fell the fuck off.
You guys ready for a story time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, are we ever? I'm actually going to grab some more Woodard. Give me 1 second. You guys talk amongst yourself.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's not normally like me. But we need a wood break. Go ahead.
A water. So, you remember how I was saying earlier I had to sell my fatbob for the Road King?
Yeah.
The whole reason why I had to sell the fatbob was because I had major engine failure 4 times on that bike. I had that bike for maybe just a little over a year, and everything was under warranty at that point. I had that bike for, let's say, the first month I had it. I ended up having my tappets and lifters crack and shatter on me for no reason. I didn't ride it for a week, and I came back to it, and it was making a horrible noise. My tappets and lifters cracked and shattered on me. The second time, my pistons and my cylinder walls both cracked and shattered on me.
God damn.
Yeah. That was about 4 months after that.
I'd have been done right there.
Oh, I was livid. It was like right at the time when the dealership was closing, and I'm like, listen here. I am sitting on the side of the road, and the thing sounds like a weed whacker smacking a fence right now. Like, it is not supposed to sound this way. And so they came and picked it up. They looked at it and they went, yeah, you need a whole new motor. I go, well, fix it. That was in the shop for, I believe, 90 days because they were trying to, 90 days because they were trying to fix it. And then after that, about a month after that, my compensator failed. It blew up. Literally blew up. And so I had to get a whole new primary internals. And so that was in the shop for 45 days. And then after that, finally got it back about 3 months later. I was leaving work. It was my last day of work down in Florida. And actually, no, there's one more time. It blew up another time in there. I'm going, listen, what the hell is happening? Again, it was in there for like 45 days. And then my last day of work, it blew up again. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Why is it doing this? And so then they finally looked at it and they go, oh, well, it has to be here for a while. I'm like, listen, I'm literally leaving the state in 2 days. You're expecting me to like do all this stuff when I've already had to spend $3,000 on a moving company and a down and like a deposit on a rental and stuff like this. Like, you guys have no say here. My bike has failed how many times within a year? And needless to say, I left with a new bike later on. Come to find out that when they first had to redo the primary, they put in the drive shaft improperly. So because of that, it kept putting extra torque on the compensator, thus breaking it.
Shit.
So that dealership, I, needless to say, am not very happy with that dealership. I'm not going to call out names for them.
You mean there's bad dealerships? I don't believe that.
Oh, it's not even just the dealership. It's the whole company that owns the network of dealerships.
Yeah, it's really interesting in any product line how much a dealership experience can make a difference. I gone into a couple Indian dealerships; True. They won't even talk to me, and I'm literally holding a helmet in my hand. I'm like, okay.
Did you see my dealership video?
I don't recall. I don't believe I did.
I went to go do a couple of test rides, and I literally called them. I was just like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, yada, 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 throw my pitch. I was like, so I'm not looking at buying a bike, but would you still allow me to come and ride a couple bikes? And their GM was just like, dude, we'd love that. Come by. Started talking with them once I got there, and they were all in. I had probably the best experience in a dealership in my entire life. They treated me like I was God. And even the owner came up to me, met me. I got a tour of everyone in the back. My camera just died, so give me a second.
See, and this is why I've tried to explain to Setzer Pendants why you go full frame. There's never an issue.
This is full frame. The battery.
I know. That's where I'm joking. He uses something called an M50. It's something APC something. I don't know. A lot of words.
Is that a Nikon?
No, he uses Canon. He uses Canon like a big boy. He just didn't get the big boy camera. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like he bought the Sportster. Yes, he has it technically as a Harley, but you know.
Ah, okay, all right.
We're still on the fence with him. Did we lose him? We've lost him.
No, we have webcam utility going right now. It'll be okay. Please stand by for technical support.
I was gonna, see, there's nothing wrong with the M50. I just like giving Setzer Pendants, because when you get to my level of YouTube, mind you, this isn't my camera, it's Works, but you get the R6. Look at that. I mean, just look at that's the thing of beauty right there. That's just the thing.
Yeah, well, when you're my level, Bri, you get this iPhone.
And if you with the right mount, you can attach it to your head, and you wouldn't believe the cinematic look you get when you're riding.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking about trying that out for this year. I want to try something different, so I'm going to shoot 4K with a full frame camera. I think it'd be nice. Bring something a little different.
Start a new trend.
Denver, we've never had a guest leave mid-show. I think we might have a problem.
I'm here. I hate it.
Oh,
We're only
trying to
messing
get
with you.
it.
Don't worry about it. We're just having some fun.
and next week on the channel, stand by.
Yeah. I mean, he was really doing good until we lost him. What would have been really great is if we were halfway in the conversation, he's like, Brian, the reason I use an M50 and then it just died. Whoops. Professional Monkey uses a pocket rocket to film. I didn't know that. I perhaps may have read that wrong. My apologies.
Right.
DGA pocket. That's a cool little camera. Do you know why Monkey brings his camera with him? Because it's not out allowed. It's not out allowed by itself. It's not out that size. He has to bring it with him. See, forget it.
There we go.
He's back.
Again, have to do my stupid workaround because Apple Silicon.
We never talk bad about the Apple. I worship at the altar of Steve Jobs, and I will not allow that on my channel. You can make fun of me. You can tell me I'm fat, tell me I ride a geezer glide, but we're not talking about Steve Jobs.
Trust me, I love my Apple Silicon. It's just other companies aren't prepared for Apple Silicon.
Well, and that's always been the issue, right? With tech is if you remember, was it the iPhone 3S was my first iPhone? It was great. It was a fantastic phone, but nothing was out for it. So you were always behind the curve until it caught up. And I know the M1 with Adobe screams. I mean, it's just,
I'm loving it.
Absolutely ridiculous what it does. So that brings us into the segue that we will financially break sets or pendants, and I'll be getting bad calls. But let's talk about the gear you use because, Monkey and those people want to talk about motorcycles. I want to nerd out because I was in the AV club. So, let's talk about your creative tools. So what do you use for your channel?
Oh God, what don't I use?
3 hours later, he's still going through the list. And I got a wheel and a bag.
So my main go-to is for my non-riding stuff. I have a Canon R5, which is full frame mirrorless. Mm-hmm. Absolutely love that bike because I'm out. Full frame mirrorless, and then after that, I also have a Rode VideoMic Pro microphone on top of that. Really helps with that. Dead cat, which for people that don't know what a dead cat is, it's literally just the fuzzy thing that goes on top of a microphone. It literally looks like a roadkill of a cat.
So Denver, if I'm translating, a dead cat's like a live cat, but it's dead.
Hey, Bri, I have the Rode mic for the Lightning for my iPhone with a dead cat. Oh yeah,
it was funnier if you didn't. All right, fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes the jokes are only funny when you play along.
That's right. But see,
I'm sorry. So
I've
here we're
stepped up
getting
my game
away.
a little bit. Come on now.
Okay, fair enough. So you got the dead cat, which no cats were hurt if Pete is watching.
Oh, the dad jokes are real in this episode. Okay.
I know, right?
And then from there, I am then running the GoPro Hero 10. I'm running that in. Do you want me to go into my settings or no?
Oh, let's just go off. Let's see how fast we can kill the entire chat. Just
okay. No. So I'm running in a complete C-Log 3, completely flat profile. I'm running it in gamma bit profile, so that way I can get complete color profiling and get as much depth as possible.
Wait, you're talking gamma bit on the R6 though. You're not an R5. You're not talking on GoPro, right?
I'm talking about on R5, yes.
Okay.
And then
because I was like, wait, there's settings I didn't know about now. Okay.
Yeah. And that allows me to get as much color depth as I need to, so that way I can shoot in like pretty much any situation, and it can look absolutely amazing. It just helps bring like a cinematic quality that I like, and I have a background in to the channel.
So Denver, what is your thoughts on C-Log 1 versus C-Log 3? Do you have an opinion?
I prefer 5 because I have the beta version.
His C-Log goes to 11.
No, I have the beta version, Brian. You don't have it yet.
Okay. Here you go. We already lost the Monkey Nation. Anybody want to talk about my 131? Please? Cams? Anybody?
Well, okay. So I will.
I'm sorry. You now.
Bring it.
I'm sorry.
Bring it down. I'm also running GoPro Hero 10, and I used to have a Purple Panda microphone, but I wanted to burn that thing and bury it 20 feet under because I hated that thing. I always got so much popping from it, hated it. And now I have another microphone that I think is amazing, but it's only like $20. So I had to buy it at that point. I heard people talking about it, tried it. I cannot remember it. I have a video out on it.
Which did you get? Because I bought one that replaced the Purple Panda that I think sounds better too. And I don't. It's the one that has the 2-piece. It's the short, and then it goes into the connector. It almost looks like a gamer mic, but it has a connector with it.
I don't have that. Mine's a normal lav.
Okay.
And then I also have a GoPro Hero 8 that I use for like my B camera to set anywhere that I need to. I have a suction cup mount that I like to use, and then I also have a clamp that it's like a C clamp that I can attach anywhere, especially good on the handlebars. And I like that more than the GoPro one, because the GoPro one you have to like lock and stuff for it to actually work. This one you just twist, so it's really good for test rides and reviews because I can just grab it and put it on any bike and easily comes on and off at that point. I also have an Insta360 X2, so 360 shots help me get interesting angles, interesting things, which I accidentally, when I was doing my pipes, I put it down a little bit too low and actually started scraping the ground, so that was a fun mistake. Yeah, have a corner completely flat now.
Oh,
shit.
Yeah.
Must have looked really good on video, though.
It did. It looked really cool, though. Also, what else am I running? I'm also running a couple drones. I don't own any drones, but I also just have a couple drones that I have access to through work, which are DJI Mavic Mini Air 2, and then also the DJI Mavic 2 Zoom, which I love that one because I'm able to use Zoom, which was in a recent video I did. And as another technology, because I see Moto not going to comment on it, I have Sena in my helmet because everyone that I was riding with also had Sena, and I think it sounds good and works good for me.
Okay. It's interesting how that, I don't care what anybody says about the mesh thing. You're either one of two camps. And everybody's just like, if my buddies have this, I'm buying this. It doesn't matter. We're just sticking with a brand.
And then lenses for my camera. Oh, God, I don't even have them in here. They're all in here. I have 35, 85, 50, 24 to 70, 14 to 24, 70 to 200, and I also have an 8 to 15.
So how much money you think you've spent on all that?
You running all 2.8s or 4s?
2.8s. And then my 35 and 85 and 50 are 1.2s. Actually, 1.4. Sorry.
Okay. I think we should take a moment to realize that Setzer Pendants is probably now in cardiac arrest. And he's probably realizing his life as he knows it is over after reading that. He's probably taking a cold shower after that gear list. So, yeah, to Denver's point, Denver, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What do you think you have invested in your – if you want to talk about that. We're not –
I can. So going back on my background, I'm actually a professional photographer and videographer. Like that's what I do for my living outside of YouTube. So a lot of that has bled over.
Which is good for you.
Yeah, it has helped. But like GoPros and drones and stuff like that and 360 cameras, never used before. So like all that stuff I've had to like, and microphones, certain microphones I've never had to have before. So like there has been investment into this, obviously. I've probably... Okay, are we counting the R5 because I did have a camera before this that I was happy with just for photography?
Hey, whatever you want.
Oh, go
Just
on. What did you have
ballpark it.
before this?
I'll
bite.
5D Mark III.
Okay. So then you had EF glass, and did you convert your EF glass or using RF?
I'm using the adapter, which I like because I have the variable ND adapter, so I don't have to drop any NDs on the front of my lenses
For the cinematic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is absolutely godsend. So if we're including this camera, I've probably dropped in close to about $8,000 to $10,000.
I mean, when you figure anything with 2.8s, at least two bills, especially if at least the newer RF is. I don't know what the EF market's like, but yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, if we're including like my lenses and stuff too, we're talking probably close to $20,000.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, I mean, that's how you make a living also.
Exactly. So, but I mean, just in YouTube aspect, I probably invested close to about $8,000.
Okay. Well, and I think Denver brings up a point too. Like when I shot photojournalism, I lived on two cameras. When I shot sports work, I had a 400 2.8 and a 70 to 200 2.8. They were money lenses. And
400. Oh my God. Sorry. That's where I'm geeking out.
I'll tell you what, that lens was magical. And the only thing that I didn't like with that lens, now understand I shot for the weight, but I also shot for a smaller paper. So we covered Pee Wee football,
monkey.
things like that, like it was a religion. You show up with a 400 2.8 to a Pee Wee football game, and you're like, okay, I'm that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy, but it's what I got.
Why is this man taking pictures of my children from so far away?
Yeah. And why is this lens the size of a small child? Weighs the same.
Little do they know that's where the child goes.
Everyone needs to purchase a $6,000 lens and then think to yourself, this could get ugly if I get hit.
Have you seen how expensive they are now?
Oh, they're ridiculous.
They're
I mean,
like $12,000.
I think when I left full-time photojournalism, I switched from Nikon to Nikon for the last year, and I had a D3, and I want to say used the 400s were like 4K, probably close to 5, and now it's just ridiculous. Like but you make an interesting point, and for a lot of people that are starting out with this, I don't think that people realize how much investment long-term glass is, because I still had was it my Nikon? I had a manual focus Nikon 51.2 and got rid of it. Don't ask me why, and we can cry about that later. But but that lens was 30 years old and still was tack sharp. And the digital camera that you put it on was half the price in 3 years. Mm-hmm. By the time it's amazing. And I think it's a shame because people don't appreciate the quality of that.
So this camera itself is $3,500 at that point. Mm-hmm. One of my lenses is that much. But I've had this camera a lot less than I've had that lens. I've had that lens since the beginning, pretty much, since my photography, because it still works. It still focuses really well, really fast. And they just hold up. They last longer. They're the bigger investment. That's why you spend all that money on that investment, which is the hard part with, I'm trying to tie this back into YouTube, which is the hard part with GoPros and stuff, because there's so much more technology based. Mm-hmm. So when you're going and buying your GoPro for your helmet or something like that, you really do have to buy the latest and greatest. Most of the time, I should say, you do have to buy the latest and greatest, because there's just a huge jump in the quality and what they're able to do. If you look at, we're talking about Hypersmooth. We'll go with Hypersmooth. You look at original GoPro, and then you go to Hypersmooth 4.0 right now or is it 3.0, whatever it is. It's just, you can shake it like this and it doesn't move at all. And then they also have the auto horizon leveling too. So you can tilt it up to 45 degrees and it still keeps it level. So I could be doing this and everyone just sees a perfectly normal picture. That's crazy.
And that's the thing that I don't really enjoy. I like the GoPros, but to me, I find them frustrating. I find if you get a mirrorless camera of any capacity, what you can do with it is so intense. Man, Monkey's trolling me now. I think you can get much more intense with it. Hold on, let me try something. So, Monkey, just to put this is a 24 to 105 f4. So, in Harley terms, this would be like a 107. The 2.8 would be like the 131. So just it's
117.
close.
117. The 20.
Yeah, it's only a half. 70. It's only a stop. Yeah, it's
the
true.
28 to 72.0 is the 131.
Oh, don't even talk about that.
I got an iPhone,
which I have talked so many times about on my channel. There's nothing wrong with starting on an iPhone and even using an iPhone if that's all you have. Because honestly, if you don't want to go into the heavy editing and you don't want to do the crazy stuff, iPhone makes it so easy to do everything.
I mean, like for myself, I got a GoPro Hero 7 and I got my iPhone. That's what I use.
Yeah. I used to use my phone because I was waiting for my camera, and I was just like, I got tired of using my phone because I was always running out of storage. I was always this, and that. I always found too many things that bothered me as a actual videographer. It felt like it was hindering me. I wasn't able to do super slow motion. I wasn't able to color grade it well. It had too much sharpness for me. No, taking pictures is not wrong on your phone. Everyone takes pictures on their phone.
I'm already getting stabbed again. Well, enjoy your light, DDK. I really appreciate it. Well, no, and that's where I was going into it. I know we were going to go into the weeds, and we can come back because I can see Monkey cuddled up with his blankie, and he's passed out because we're boring him. But now he's good. Oh, you son of a bitch! Now it's turned bad. Just everyone, stay tuned Sunday for my new video, 5 Reasons Why I Hate Professional Monkey. I'm sure I'll definitely be shanked after that, but the views and the money that Kate will make will be worth it for my
number one. Stay tuned for Monday, Bry's video of how I became a fan of witness protection.
Yes, how I'm living on the road as a nomad. The video opens up with me wearing the no club patch, the no shirt. No club, no wolf patch.
You should reach out to As the Magpie Flies. She'll tell you some good hiding spots.
Yeah, Monkey. The problem with that video, it would be like the Roy video. The only person that would get it was a joke. Initially, would be Roy, and then I'd be getting hate mail. Oh,
that took me so long to figure out that was a joke. I want you to know that. That took me to figure
I
out.
said to him, I said, look, I'm doing this video. It's a joke. Just please give me your blessing and know me that you know me well enough that anything I say is not going to be net. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's meant in and he was like, oh my God, do it. And it was funny. I was getting complaints from people. I'm like, did you watch the chat replay? He's literally replying in the chat replay. Oh,
that was good.
How about 5 reasons how Professional Monkey ruined the 131? Is this the death of the 131?
That would be a good video for him to do. I ruined my 131.
No, I need the views. He reviews a rock and gets more views than my whole channel. DeBeard, what's going on, buddy? We were just talking about your ride, DeBeard, being a great ride that they hosted to the Pines. I can't wait to see that video. It was a really great time. They're talking cameras. It's awful. So going back in here, we'll start using bigger words for those that are struggling to follow a point. That was sarcasm. Don't flame me. So what would you say as a YouTube creator? Take the professional side out of it. As an entry level YouTube creator, if you were to get a set of gear that you wanted to start your channel with and you wanted to learn, you wanted to be a student of the game, where would you start?
I would say nothing, actually, which sounds very counterintuitive. Start with whatever you have, because by just doing it, you're going to learn more by then saying, I need to get this and then I'm going to be good. I need to get this and then I'm going to be able to do so much more. If you're able to learn how to talk to a camera, if you're able to actually form cohesive thoughts in front of the camera, if you're able to just come up with creative ideas for your videos, that is 90% of what actually goes into a YouTube video. So if all you have is your phone, use just your phone and talk about your bike. that will be so much more and get you that much more comfortable with being in front of a camera. And then once you're starting to get better practice at that, then look at other things.
Mm-hmm.
Because that will then allow you to then reach further and do more things how you wanted to, but you'll be that much more comfortable when you have those new tools. So you're not trying to figure out that new tool and also trying to figure out how to talk to a camera and do all this other stuff.
I think that's solid advice. The one thing that I found for me was really sit down and justify why you need it, because, you know, people go and they buy a piece of gear for that one thing they're trying to emulate, and then they put that money into something that they're never going to do again. Or, you know, I have a gimbal. I love it for my cameras. It's fantastic, but I've used it like 4 times. It's great when you need it, but 9 times out of 10, you really probably didn't need it.
Let's see if that's a Ronin that puts you at like $150 each time you've used it so far.
Yeah. So during the so let's nerd for a second. So during the pandemic, we were doing people that know this, that I do video work for food. We were doing these grill shots because it was during barbecue season, and I kept flying the gimbal in and out as the lid comes up off the grill, and it looked really cool. They never used it. I'm like, that's great. That was my own money too. I'm like, you bastards. But to your point, I think sometimes when you watch a Peter McKinnon, you watch a Potato Jet, we get lost in the idea of what we could do rather than doing something that's more engaging.
Mm-hmm. Total
If
side
you watch
note.
Peter McKinnon, people get lost. I mean, the dude is talented. You know, I mean, Casey Nyquist. I mean, it's their work is freaking amazing, but there's so much money spent into it, and you know, a lot of fucking skill and time and talent and just trial and error.
As a total side note, Potato Jet's the one that got me into motorcycles.
Did he? I love his channel.
So, but hey, Brian, dude, Fat Bob, it's been fun, but I do got to jump off. I got dinner. I got to get up at 1:30 in the morning to go to work again. So,
okay. Do me a favor. When you sit down at dinner, just ask the family, so what's your thoughts on bokeh? Just throw it out there like it's just throw it out there as it's a word. Tell them you learned something in class today.
Right.
I thought you were talking about Boca Raton for a second.
No, I was talking about the bokeh. The bokeh.
Oh.
Denver, thanks so much. I appreciate it,
Hey,
buddy.
no,
Tell
dude,
your
it's been
son,
fun.
for all of us, please tell him congratulations.
It's a pleasure,
I
man.
will. It was actually. I'm gonna shoot you some extras. I got some questions for you,
Dude.
So.
I'm full of answers, and I try to help.
No,
as much as I
okay,
can.
Denver, just here. I can answer one for you.
No.
It's a lens cap.
Hey, Bri.
See if you take that.
Fuck off.
Wow, I'll miss you too, buddy.
Wow.
Oh, what the hell was that?
That was an aggressive leaving. Aggressive statement.
Well, I didn't want to talk about this, but now he's left. The problem is he lives in Seattle, and he's a little unstable.
It's all the shrooms.
It's all the shrooms, man. He's on a spiritual mission and stuff. No, I think that, and all kidding aside, I know we can nerd out all day, but I think that that's good, because that's one of the things that I know George from Baggers and Brews talks about, is that you could certainly build your channel, buying a red, but if you're using what you have to its limits, and more importantly, this is only my opinion, but more importantly, are you using it to the return that you should be getting? You know what I mean? Like, I could buy an R6, or anyone could buy an R6, an R5, whatever. But if you're not getting the return out of it, is that the best investment for your channel? Maybe you could start somewhere else.
Yeah. That's just it. You have to use something to its fullest and be limited before you have to find the justification to look at something higher. Like I was saying beforehand, I was using my phone as like my walk around, talking head video stuff, because I didn't have a camera that had autofocus during video. So I was using my phone. It was simple. It was easy to pack away. That was amazing. But my limitations came from what I wanted to do to it after, what I needed to gather from it, how my editing process was hindering me during that point. And also my storage. Like I would constantly be running out of storage on my phone because it's on your phone. You are taking pictures and stuff already, but then you have all this other stuff that you're trying to get the best quality with. 131.
Yeah, and it's hard too, right? Because the best camera to own is the one you have in your hand when you need it. But at the same point, there are certainly limitations when you, for certain things, when you go to a real camera. You're like, we talked about this last night. Going from my XA11 camcorder to a pro level, to an entry level pro level camcorder to a R6 was night and day. Like the R6 works the way my brain thinks. I wasn't fighting with it the entire time. And it's interesting, if you get the right tool, it's much like a motorcycle. See, Monkey, I wrapped it back. If you get the right tool, then the tool works for you rather than you working against it.
We don't want to be like that guy that's climbing up the mountain and doing dirt bike treks on his street glide.
Yes.
We don't want to be like that guy.
Well, if it wasn't my street glide, I'd try it.
I'm sure that dude doesn't have any nuts left because he smacked them too hard from the amount of times.
It's the $1 million Bogan approach. It's my bike. I can do whatever I want. Oh, it's too funny. And I think that it's really, I think it's really interesting because we had talked about this, like with the YouTube thing. So as you built your channel, forget the technical side of it for a moment. Where do you think that your time was best invested? As you progressed your channel, I know you said you had to pivot a bit, or you're thinking about pivoting. Where do you feel, if you look at it from a start, like obviously you have to just, as Think Media says, you have to punch fear in the face, right? You have to punch fear in the face and say,
we follow all the same people. I want you to know that.
No, we all do, right? And which in itself is the problem, because everyone's watching it going, if I make the 5 things I hate about my motorcycle, I'll get X. Or if I make the reaction video or the whatever. And I think that as creators, we get sucked into trying to emulate what we know, and everything that we know has just been regurgitated, right? Like, because what are people going to tell you when you start a YouTube channel? You got to post consistently. You have to have a thumbnail. If you miss an upload, you're going to die. Your channel will burst into flames. You have to be telling people to ring the ding and ring the dong and all that stuff. Like, it's the same thing perpetuated over and over again. And I feel like to be someone different, you have to stop listening to the noise, if that makes sense. Like,
this is where I'm going to mention Professional Monkey.
Because, here you go.
And I'm going to be inflating the ego. I already know.
No, wait, but please. And he's respected in the motorcycle community. You need to address him as Mr. Professional Monkey, sir, with the 131. That's his new title. So,
okay, Mr. Professional Monkey with the 131, sir. Him, I really do. You got to ring that dong. Yes.
Ding the dong, baby.
His channel is so different from a lot of other content creators, especially for motorcyclists, because 95% of his content is him in his garage, a one take with the DJI Osmo. I think that's what he was just saying it was.
Yeah.
Or his phone, whichever one he's using. But
he's
entertaining. Like that's the point. But it's so different, and how he does it is his own. So to go back to your original question, as I'm tying that into this also.
Read his answer.
But you still make it entertaining. And so that ties into the thing of that you were asking me beforehand. What is going to be the number one thing to where you should spend the most amount of your energy when you're first starting off is how to actually be entertaining and talk. Because if you're able to work in cohesive sentences and build energy and be entertaining in front of a camera, you may be an interesting person in person, but that doesn't mean you're entertaining when it's just you and this little piece of device that you're talking to that has no soul. So learning how to do that makes the biggest difference in the world. That's why Shade Tree Surgeon is very popular, because he does some interesting things and he does some cool things, but he's just entertaining as hell to watch because he has this extreme personality of a Florida man, the Florida wizard living in the swamp. And then the same thing with Mr. Professional Monkey with the 131 Sir. Why he's so entertaining, because you can tell he's so authentic in front of the camera, and he's rambling on about all of his thought process, but it's a very cohesive thought that it all makes sense. He has a direction, and he gives a point to where he's going. So he knows how to talk, and that's the biggest thing that most people need to learn to do. That was a very long way to say, learn how to talk to a camera.
Well, and I also think too, and when we talk about everyone replicating or another style, is that I'm not a tech guy. Anybody that follows this channel knows I'm not a motorcycle guy. I could figure it out, by talking to some people and doing some Google keyboard searching, but I'm not a motorcycle guy. So my channel comes at it as more of, I enjoy riding and I enjoy doing reviews. That's what I enjoy. And I think that if you're genuine to that, you don't have to be a shade tree surgeon to. I feel like a lot of people are worried that they have to have that over the top personality, or they have to have something where the authentic them is so engaging to watch, rather than trying to be a duplicate of somebody else, like the ShamWow guy kind of approach.
Sorry, I just haven't heard ShamWow in a very long time.
No, but you know what I mean? Because I don't know, and we're going to go way out of the genre, but anybody that's watching this, I need you to take 5 minutes and research this. So there's a gentleman by the name of Sean Ryan. He is an ex-Navy SEAL. He does his own podcast. It originally started with him doing interviews of people in the military. He started now branching out to doing more of things that are about politics and so forth. Doesn't raise his voice when he talks. He's like, it's like ASRM. You could listen to it at night and fall asleep to it. But because he's so engaging in his conversation, it's interesting. And I think that it's, to your point, if you need to find your groove. And like Monkey says, and I joke with him, he's heard me say, like, if you told me Harley-Davidson was coming out with a rock and you started reviewing it, I'd be 15 minutes into it even before I realized it was a rock, because I'm just engaged in the presentation. I'm engaged in the authenticness. And I think that a lot of creators get caught up in seeing what the, I don't want to say this in the wrong way, because I got to be careful with this. It's one thing to emulate someone or to try and pick up their style. It's another to ride their coattails when it's not authentic, right? Like, to be a member of this community and not be an authentic community member does two things. It calls you out eventually as a fake, which ends bad, and you're not helping the community grow. Do you know what I mean? Like, Moto Noggin is a classic example of this, and I mean this with 1,000% respect. He went on his first live and there were like 3 people. And he kept doing it. And now there's 40 people. And now there's, 30 people. Now there's 50 people. But he put the work in to do it. And he wasn't trying to like ride anyone else's coattails to build his brand. He allowed his brand to become authentic. And once it became authentic, the community then accepted him. This is a TED Talk. I need to shut up. I'm fired up today.
No, I'm enjoying this.
But I really do feel like that's where, as a community, we go wrong. Like, if I can offer someone help with X, I feel that that's my obligation to give back. Do you know what I mean? Because if I can have a conversation and say, well, you know what? I don't know anything about what you need to know, but I happen to know a thing or two about tripods. I don't know, something stupid, right? But if we all give back, the community comes up. And when the community comes up, to me, that's the biggest win. You know, we will never be the we're not all going to be Adam Sandoval, right? I'm just throwing a name out there. But we all could be what we want to be by building each other up. And I think that it's so important. And Moto and I mean that sincerely. And I know we all give each other crap. I mean, not that people ever make fun of my fake motorcycle that I don't really ride, you know, and the shanking me, which I love you guys to death for all of that. I think it's really important that if you're going to try and build a brand or whatever you want to achieve with YouTube, that you make it authentic. So you're someone that's giving back rather than asking. You're doing both, right? Because then we kind of all win with that.
No, I agree 100%.
You know, I wish just plastic paint around. Church is over.
I mean, exactly what you said is the reason why I reached out for wanting to. Having gray hair helps. Sorry, got distracted.
He's a model, apparently.
The reason why everything you just said is the reason why I reached out to you to want to do this podcast.
Yeah, and yes. Sorry, go ahead.
And so because of that, like, and I also made literally a whole video on it of just like ways to help engage your moto vlogs more. Like, and I obviously came out with it in a very aggressive manner in the thumbnail to make it clickbaity, but it wasn't in a way. I came out saying like your moto vlogs suck because everyone was like, what the hell? Why does my moto vlog suck? And gets people to click on it. But it's just how to engage people and how to do that. So I wanted to share that because I'm a big science person. Like I study psychology, I study yada, 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 tech and stuff just for fun. So like knowing that people only have 8-second, like they're only interested in things for 8 seconds. I can't remember the exact term. Mm-hmm. Attention span. They only have an 8-second attention span. Because of that, you got to like change things up. You got to like make sure you're trying new things and just like throw something else in there just a little bit different. So that way they try to stay engaging. And yes, as I read in the comments, you do want to be yourself. And that's where.
Yes. And that's where I think Monkey and I have a difference in terms. And I know my term isn't the right one. When I say brand, I mean your authenticness.
Yes.
We use that term at work as building your brand is your persona, your whatever. But yes, if you're the true you can't fail. Oh, I have a T-Rex outfit, Mrs. Monkey. Oh, now you got now. There's my next video idea. 5 things that suck about being a T-Rex Harley rider. I got this.
That build a brand, self-enhanced ceilings on themselves. The only expectation to that is Fortnite there, Brandon there, so freaking brilliant. You watch it anyway. So their brand, as just replying to that, their brand is literally Revzilla of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
That is Fortnite. But what they do with their YouTube is completely different. And their brand is education in an interesting way through motorcycles. Mm-hmm. And they do that through his creative cinematic looks. Mm-hmm. And so knowing what makes you and what you like to do, that makes yourself. What was our original question? Because I have no idea where we have come from and to get here.
Monkey had a 131. Then he took a nap. Then Moto thanked me because I do really like him and he enjoyed the pork roll, even though he almost got killed by a headlight. Then Denver left. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what we're talking about anymore. It's all right. Let's just keep going.
So what do you think? Trying to get back on track now. What do you think is a really key aspect for people wanting to start their channel?
If I were to look back and do it again, I think I would have tried to put more time on the thing that's behind the camera than the camera. Because I feel like if you produce a video or you produce content and you're throwing it into a space that no one can find it, you're going to get discouraged. And I feel like if you do what you like, it'll work itself out one way or the other. Like you said, maybe there isn't a market for X, but if you're enjoying it, you're not going to get burnt out. And if you're not getting burnt out, you're continuing to put out content, which then helps potentially your brand, right? Because we had talked about this the other day, and it's my number one pet peeve. Hey, Bri, I just posted a video. So who do you know at Custom Dynamics will send me lights? And I'm using them as an example, right? Like everybody's looking for the short win. Nobody's looking to do the work and figure out why, or be a student of the game. And I know that's hard to say, because if you don't know what the hell you're doing, watching channels like Potato Jet are almost counterproductive at that point. But like Think Media, a bunch of those at least will send you down the right path at some level till you figure it out.
Going on Potato Jet, I don't even think of him as like I see him as more of an idea generator for me. That's how I like to look at him. He's entertaining. He shows you new cool tools, but he does it in a way that just helps me get new ideas for things. He's like, oh, well, we're doing this in this way, but you could also do it this way. So like, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I never thought of it that way. So I can try using my camera in this way and get something different. It's just an idea generator. He's an idea generator for me.
Yes. And he's also gotten to kind of the point for him to do that full time. His channel's changed the direction too, right? I think, I guess where I would go with that is find something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy talking about or doing. And if you do, then it's a lot more fun. And I think you succeed more by doing the work and doing the work of something you love than trying to put out a video that I'm not genuinely engaged in, right? Like if I put a video on the death of Harley-Davidson, right? Maybe I can pull that off once or twice, but am I bringing out the real me that people are going to see beyond the topic? If that makes sense, right? Because the topic's important, but so's your personality, like you said, and it doesn't need to be over the top, but if you can keep me engaged 50% engagement would be huge, like
I wish.
If you can hit that 50% engagement about something that may be a bit mundane or whatever, you're showing that you've become a storyteller. I think it's Mr. Beast said that unless you hit 89% engagement, you're not doing it right. And I'm like, I don't know. I could do a 30-second video that could get that kind of footage,
Yes. Thank you for penning that comment. Oh my God.
What? That's what Monkey needs to do. He needs to do, what did they call that Chinese thing where people binge eat? Nick Avocado does that, where he buys like 8 pizzas and then binge eats them and then complains how he's dying the whole time. And people watch that.
They do.
And there's no logic there.
So I also want to summarize what you said, and also kind of things that I've seen Professional Monkey say. Mr. Professional Monkey with a 131, sir. That's the last time I'm going to say that. You've earned it. You want to make sure. Oh God. You want to make sure you are yourself, and that is very important. As we have been saying, you want to be authentic to yourself or your brand, however you like to label yourself or whatever. But what's also really important is that whatever you're doing has to be enjoyable to you, or else why are you doing this? Because it is going to be a long time before you even start to see a penny from what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if monetization is your goal, you're in it for the wrong thing. Like, I really do hate to say that, because as lovely as it is that YouTube pays us, it's not that much in reality, especially as like smaller channels. It's not like, even as a big channel, YouTube doesn't actually pay you that much. Like, I will go to Blockhead as an example. There's a reason why Blockhead has a shop. He does the motorcycle giveaways. He has his own merchandise shop, and he has partnerships because YouTube doesn't pay the bills. It helps, but it's everything else that helps support that to give the channel its own basis to help support those other things too.
Yes, and I think that too, that like you said, if you're into it, if you're chasing the number and you're chasing the monetary gain of YouTube, I'm sure at a level that I may never reach it's at. But I know from my level, the engagement with companies and that product that you can do the install for or things like that is a larger monetary gain, because it's a product that I wanted, because I'm not going to put something on my bike that I don't want. I've not reached that point in my career. And I'm not paying for it. And then on top of that, if I nail it and I'm successful, I have a revenue stream over time from that video. Rather than trying to think like, oh, what can I do? Like, can I stab Dallas face mullet in the face with a knife because he threatened to shank me? Not clickbait. Would that get me the views I need?
Yeah. So as an example of it's more than just the monetary gains, I did an entire interview with my actual parents, about what it's like for them me to be riding. And they're like, almost no one has watched it, but I get sentimentalness, and I actually got to see more in their eyes of what it's like for me to be riding, because again, I'm the only person in my family that rides. So what is that? How does that make me feel? And then there's also people that have commented on that video that have stumbled upon that, because that is something important for them to see their parent, what it's like for their child to be riding, or like how to help them think when their child is wanting to start riding. And they said, this helps me so much because my child is wanting to start riding, and now I'm able to help put troubles aside by asking them to do this, and yada 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 and stuff like that. Like, my parents have mentioned to me that it makes them feel more comfortable with me riding because I handle my bike better than probably 80% of the people out there that ride, that like pass their MSF class and that's it. They don't ever go and practice again. I actually study things. I do all this extra work that's out there. So it's that the sentimental and the emotional gain that I have gained from that video, and how it's helped certain people in the community that have needed that, is so much more than any monetization that I would have gotten from that video.
Yes. And I think what Monkey just brought up, and I'll throw it back on the screen, I think that's another thing that people shouldn't realize or should never forget, is they're creating a memory. You're creating that memory in time that in this moment, I will always be preserved as that person. That was the thing that I loved about photojournalism. You can argue it, but it is not scientific. You can never scientifically recreate a moment. You just can't. And that is the uniqueness, and why I enjoyed the job, and why I lusted after, why it was so incredibly impactful for me, is that I was capturing something that was never going to be replicated again. And if you look at your travels like that, and you realize that legacy that you're building can really be something. And maybe it's not for your family. Maybe it's for somebody that just randomly steps upon it and says, oh, well, this person did this. You know what I mean? Because we all, at least I always kind of cringe and I laugh every time Harley has an event. They always show you that archive photos of the guys, doing X, because they've invented, whatever.
We were the first to go off road.
Yes, we were the first to go 100 miles an hour. Hey, Route 32. I think it's important to remember that you're also building that, for your children, for your family. Like I put out a video that was really near and dear to my heart. Wasn't a big video. I've put out several, at least, that connected to people, and that connection to me was more important than what the video did, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I put out a video about raising a child with autism, and all these people started IMing me like, oh my God, I have a child with autism, or my niece's nephew, or somebody. And I thought to myself, you know, that shows you that you have that reach, and that you have to remember. And sometimes that's the thing that drives me, is you have to remember that there's still those people out there that you have that connection with. You know what I mean? It might not necessarily be a success, but I think you can gauge success on other levels.
Yeah, because and another way to put that, and how I'm thinking is, it's not the monetization, it's the community that you build that has the
100%. I mean,
effect.
there's not a day that goes by that I don't speak to at least several creators in the community, and that to me is everything.
Yeah,
because that to me is um the brotherhood, the sisterhood of YouTube, right? Is being able to be part of that, and not, you know, I always use the tagline of not, you know, you're not alone. I love that. Like, I love that a day goes by where, you know, I hear from a creator from here, I hear from a creator from there, and we're all going along this journey together. What is he starting now? Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a bot. Somebody's got to tell me, because I'm not looking at the live chat. Hold on. Let me kill the bot. The damn Russians are back. So talk amongst yourselves. Keep going. I got this. I'm an untrained, highly untrained professional.
Okay, Adam Savage.
What's going on here? Who's acting up? Can somebody give me a hint of who we're looking at here on this? Let me see if I can find it. Oh, come on. Anyway, keep talking. You're fine. I'm just trying to kill the bot. They don't teach you this in YouTube school.
No, they don't. And so again, this is also another thing I struggle with, like, because I'm still struggling with talking to the camera when it's just myself. So like, I'm very much a feeding off of other people's type of energy. So when I'm like, hell, when I first moved up here and I knew no one else that ride, a lot of my videos were hard to make because I'm forcing myself to have to talk. I'm like, and I struggle so much with finding that single point conversation and to have a point and yada yada yada. But now that I'm able to like finally start building and feeling a little bit more comfortable with it, it's getting better. But that's just something I struggle with, actually talking face to face with the camera and having a point to where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you struggle with that.
Oh, I mean, I can barely keep this shit show of a live stream under control most days. It's hard because it's very uncomfortable to talk to no one because you don't get a reaction, right? Like, you could sit at bike night and talk all day long about whatever, but when you're talking to a camera, all you hear is the flaws. You don't get the, oh, that was a good idea, Briar. You don't get the acknowledgement.
Yep. It's hard. It's just simply hard. And if you do get a reaction, it's delayed because you're talking, and then like as of now, like Santa's child just came on screen. Like, there's a delay in all the responses.
Well, I was very against doing live streams for the longest time, and I still kind of want to go back to my roots and do the recorded interview because I think there's a better intensity. What's that?
We don't mention that here. What? Not on the live stream.
Where did I mention what?
We don't mention not doing the live stream while we're on the live stream.
No. I'm saying what I've thought about is the engagement that I enjoy with the live stream is I enjoy the side chat, but there's also those conversations that I've had with people that I really want to be in the moment. And I feel like I'm doing a disservice because I'm getting distracted by the side chat. So you have to find a balance for what works.
Yeah. And I tried the live streaming. You were there. I just felt too awkward. I felt like I never had a direct point. I could never get my point across. And so I just, keeping up with the live chat, keeping up with me and trying to have a cohesive talking the entire time, it hurt me too much. I was just like, no, I'm not, it's not for me. I tried it, not for me. If times change, I'll try it again later on, but not right now.
The one thing though that I do like about it is that if you're doing something, it's done, right? The live stream is what the live stream is going to be. We've had issues like where my mic's fallen over, the camera's fallen over, you name it. But when it's done, that piece of your content that you've put out for whatever, whether it was for your day, your week, whatever, it's done. It's encapsulated. It's done. You're not worrying about editing it post. You're not worried about, doing the other stuff. So I think in some ways it helps you push. We talked about this the other night too. Is it better to have perfect content, which I would argue there's no such thing, or is it better to have content that people can consume and you can use to build whatever you're trying to build? Mm-hmm. And I think to me, that's where I think the lives are fun, because everybody's watching for something to go off the rails, and it always does.
This is where I come and ask you, at what point do you say something is good enough?
The creator side of me, okay, the non-YouTube side of me will struggle with that shit. The YouTuber side of me will struggle with that, but I won't struggle the way I would if I was getting... I think there's YouTube good enough, and then I think there's professional good enough. Mm-hmm. Because nothing is worse than, and we talked about this too, nothing's worse than color grading something. You nail the sound where it sounds like they're, you're using a boom, like it sounds like they're in a voice box. And then you realize that somebody's watching on their phone, sitting in their cup holder while driving down in the car. And you're like, well, was that the best return on my investment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, Mr. Monkey, sir. You really have to, I guess you really have to decide what, is more beneficial for you. And I don't think there is a right answer, right? Like, we could look at any, as a Peter McKinnon, right? You can look at Peter McKinnon and say, all right, he's using these LUTs, he's grading, he's doing all this, short throw shots, he's doing all this. But is that what your standard should be? Or should your standard be using that as the pinnacle, right? There's that moment, like when I was doing sports photojournalism, if you were 1A above the fold, when people actually read newspapers, you delivered that day, right? You crushed it. But that was the pinnacle, right? That wasn't what necessarily you always are striving for that, but you can't beat yourself up that you just shot a no-hitter baseball game and you have nothing to present.
Give me 30 seconds. I'm about to piss my pants. I got to piss so bad.
No worries. We're taking a station ID break. Good. You can cover me when you come back. So DDK, what are your thoughts? Do you think that the live is, would you, and this is to anybody, would you enjoy the interview more if it was more intense and not distracted so much with kind of the bouncing around of trying to juggle? Or do you think that the interaction from the side chat is more beneficial than, say, a deeper dive interview? And I'm very curious. I don't know what the answer to that is, because I know when I was doing the recorded Beyond the Rider series, I felt that there was a lot of Harley Fatboy Jr., as he pops up as a classic example. He was the one that really wanted to go back to the recorded format, even though I was doing live. And when we did that recorded format, it reminded me that format was very different than the type of work that we were doing before. You're not distracted. We were able to dive in deep and really talk about things. And I think that they both have a a value to it. I will say this: my only concern is, and this is a sort of an open statement. I wonder if live streams are going to have a shelf life at some point, right? Because all of us here that show up and that are names that are familiar know that every day of the week there's a live stream. So is the live stream market becoming oversaturated with that? You know what I mean? And yes, in DDK, that's where I think too. I think it's more fun to have somebody tell their stories, but I wonder sometimes if there's more value into having a more controlled conversation, for lack of a better word. All right, so I'm going to give you the helmet. I'm going to go to the bathroom now. So
wait,
you have the helm.
Tell me where you left off so I can at least have a conversation.
We were talking about how we all hate Professional Monkey. The 131's overrated. No, we weren't. We were just talking about whether, and you can pick up wherever you want. It doesn't matter. We were talking about whether it matters to have a scripted sit-down interview. Not scripted, but a Harley Fatboy Jr. was one of my last recorded interviews before we did the live. And I was doing lives before that. Of whether people feel that doing the recorded interview is more substance, or is it more fun to be a less substance but more hanging out with your friends in the bar kind of feel, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So talk amongst yourselves. Be right back.
Cool. Okay, so here's gonna be my point of view, I guess, even though probably no one really cares. We'll give it a try.
So, and make sure you tell them to ring the dong and all that stuff too while I'm going. That's really important. You don't do that, nobody will follow.
As long
totally
as you
joking.
ring your dong in the bathroom. Good night, Paul Lee. So actually, while Bri is doing all this live, I am actually doing pretty much the same thing, but scripted. And not scripted, but we're doing it pre-recorded, and I actually have a video coming out on Friday about some Ohio guy, which if you don't know, he's an amazing photographer and videographer. He's based over on Instagram and a little bit on YouTube. Highly recommend you guys go and check it out. But I personally like doing the scripted, the pre-recorded, just so that way people can actually, it helps people make them look their best. Like, as I'm stumbling over my words, exactly my point for this. You want people, when you're showing them their credentials, or like you're giving them their elevator pitch, you want them to help them look their best when they're being shown to the crowd. And then when I'm doing this, I'm also showing a lot of their work. I'm showing a lot of the things that they do on their channel. So it just helps bring more sustenance and more things for people to be interested in. That is my take on doing the pre-recorded interviews. But then when you're doing the live, again, you get all the shits and giggles that are happening, and you get everything going off the rails and the sidetracks to where you're getting the more personality. But when you're doing the pre-recorded, you're getting much more of the, I want to know this person, why should I go follow this person type of thing. You're not getting the personality from them, though.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good point, because I think you have to find balance. If you're able to pull a story from somebody, I think there's benefit. But I also think it depends on how you consume content. I don't feel like, me personally, I would, and I know people do this just by looking at my analytics. I know people watch lives after the fact. But what I wonder is, are they watching the full live, or are they just sort of skimming it, where maybe an thoughtful engagement would draw more retention? And we have gone off I feel sorry for anybody that decided to tune in for motorcycle content tonight. They missed out. Sorry, we let you down.
This is a YouTuber This is a YouTuber video right here. No,
I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
The great. If you haven't seen Sam Newton's video on that, it's fantastic.
So as you were actually saying that, sorry, go ahead.
No,
I'll come back to it. It's not that important.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so as the like content creator thing, though, another reason, like, I have this itch, and no one's probably going to watch the video, but since I have this R5 and it can shoot in 8K, for people that don't know what 8K is, you know what 4K is. It's literally 4 times the resolution. So it's like a ridiculously high definition picture. Can you see? Yes.
You can see jump points.
So because this camera shoots in 8K RAW, I've never used it, but because I have this, I want to do something really high end for the channel. Like I want to do something because I have this tool, and it's just so like that's something I want to do, and I think that's something because I have this tool, I want to use it and have fun with it. Just a side note, I don't know I can't remember why that came up, but
no, because I was thinking about that the other day. I was factoring in something I wanted to shoot. It was 1903 motorcycle polish. They had sent me this polish trap my bike. Fantastic stuff. We'll get into that another time. And all I kept thinking is it needs that 120 frames per second just once. That like showstopper, image that no one else is probably ever going to notice or appreciate, but you're like, yeah, that one was for me. You know what I mean? Like we shot a work video and I spent probably 30 minutes filming rolls going around in a rotating oven. And I was so obsessed with that shot. And I was like, look, I know how much time we wasted, but damn, that's a good shot. It's like, it's sometimes for me, what excites me is that I'm doing that one thing that I like, right? Like and you bring up a really good point. Think about if every video you tried one new trick. Think about what a year of that would look like.
So going into that, and you also mentioned the 120, that's why this popped into my mind. A lot of my test rides and review videos that I do, I always started out with what I like to call epic B-roll section, just to like really show off the bike. You get to see it. You get to see what it looks like. You get to see all the cool details they include in it. And I almost always shoot that in 120 frames, just because it looks good. You're moving super smooth and super slow. And then I'm trying new editing techniques to where I'm doing high speed ramps with special transitions and all this other stuff, just to add that extra little sprinkle to where that goes back to what you're saying. You need to have that foundation. And do you really need to do the Peter McKinnon level editing? Or do you just want to add a couple little bit of that here and there to where you're adding that little bit of sprinkle on top to bring your video a little bit more to life?
Well, yeah. And I think that you bring up a good point too, because that's the journey, right? That's how we learn to ride. We learn to ride by duck walking, right? If you use that same analogy, I think it's really important. Somebody asked the edit. This is the question nobody wants to answer.
Good night, NC.
Yeah, good night, NC. Thank you so much for joining the channel.
So, how much does it take to say one edit of video? I mean, that really does depend. Like, if I'm going into my epic B-roll section, that can take me. I keep that to about 30 seconds, and that in and of itself can take me about 4 hours to make. But if I'm doing a 15-minute vlog, that takes me 2 hours to make. Like, it really depends on what type of content I'm making and how much detail I want to put into it. It just really does depend.
Well, and I think that also should be gauged in different ways, right? Because anyone that's good at their skill, regardless of what it is, their time to do something isn't going to be your time. It's kind of like the garbage in, garbage out thing. If you nail the lighting and you know how to do something in camera, in production rather than in post, I think you can limit your editing time. But what worries me in that statement, good night, Riding. Thanks again for the shirt. I appreciate it, sir. I think what you don't want to get lost in is to think that if I don't edit this video for whatever that equation is, that I didn't try hard enough. because if I do a talking head video like this, how much editing is going to need to be done? Especially if in the form that works for me, I don't try to jump cut. I just talk. And if I circle back, I circle back.
Mm-hmm.
It may not, you may not get don't gauge yourself into thinking of how long something's going to take. I think that might be a bad way to, I don't think it's a bad question, but don't use that as a benchmark as to how much work you should be putting into it, if that made any sense at all.
Yeah. To answer that question, does it draw higher views or better metrics? It depends. Honestly, what I see is better is just more of what people are interested in. Just because you do something good doesn't mean people are going to come to you. Like, oh, what's an example? Like, again, my parents' interview. That was an actually really high production video that I made because I wrote out not hundreds, but I wrote out 20 questions for them. I pre-ran them, and then I had 3 cameras going at the time, and then I had lighting for the entire situation, and then it was hours and hours and hours of on end of editing, and it was also like 3 hours of video of just an interview with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut that down to 18 minutes. That's a lot to cut down. Just to bring down a point. And so that was probably the most high-end production I've ever done, but I only have probably like 150 views on that video.
and I guess that brings the point too. Do you feel, not about YouTube, do you feel that video was worth your return?
Emotionally, yes. And that's
there
exactly
you go.
What we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not for the metrics. It's about what makes you happy when you're doing this.
I mean, starting editing tool, boy, that's a good question. I mean, it depends. If you have a Mac, I think iMovie's great. That's how I started. It's simple enough, but it's complicated enough. And then you could always step into Final Cut Premiere if you wanted to make that jump. I work with Premiere Pro. That's what my shop uses. So that was the marching orders. Once I got beyond the limitations of trying to do stuff that I couldn't make iMovie do, I had to suck it up and jump off the deep end because the only resource I had used Premiere Pro. So from a work standpoint, the marching order was, this is what we use. So you're either going to use it or you're not going to be doing it. I mean, there's really just no 2 ways around it.
So another suggestion I have is iMovie is really great, or there's a couple free editing ones. I highly recommend Think Media. They have a couple videos out on free editing software for PC, that especially if you have a PC. But another free editing software is also DaVinci Resolve. That one's a little bit more in depth, and there is a little bit more of a learning curve, but that can stay with you forever. As for iMovie, you will quickly outgrow that. You will be very good. You'll be able to do amazing things with it. But then eventually, if you're wanting to do higher production stuff, you will hit your ceiling, and then you'll have to go learn an entire new program.
Yeah. I mean, I think also too, something to keep in mind is it's kind of like, we'll simplify it out of cameras. It's Android, iPhone. Whatever works for you isn't if you're trying to learn it professionally and you want to take your career and you want to put on your resume that you know iMovie, it's probably not going to play out as well as if you know a pro level gear. However, if that's not your end goal, use the tool that works for you, because we could have the Canon Nikon argument all day long and nobody's going to win. We're just going to talk ourselves into circles.
As we said at the very beginning of this, use whatever tool you have at your disposal. That is going to be the best tool.
And don't let yourself get intimidated. Don't jump off the deep end if you're not emotionally prepared to do that, because nothing's worse than using a piece of equipment that's actually a detriment rather than being positive. You mentioned 8K. When we got the R6 and I shot full uncompressed or whatever it gives you, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, shooting in 4K, I thought my Mac was going to have a stroke. I thought they were going to bring the paddles out for it. Mm-hmm. However, it looks amazing. But if you're if you're now tripling your production time because you have to let it render for a little bit before you can even start editing or what have you, it may not be the best solution for you.
And I had this camera on my old computer, and let me just say, I thought it pretty much every time I started a project, it would crash. Premiere would just crash on me. And I got so frustrated. I tried to go as long as I could. And luckily, I ordered my computer. And then I went down to Florida for Bike Week, for Daytona Beach Bike Week. And I got hit by so bad of a rainstorm, I lost my computer.
I heard that. That's terrible.
So that was my last moto camping trip. Again, we're tying everything back to earlier on.
It's like anything, right? And we had talked about this in pre-show. It gets back to where me waffling about my next bike goes, right? And there is no right answer to this, but for me, and I'm learning at my age and where I want to be, the experience supersedes what I did the experience on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you have to, I think it's important that you don't let technology be what holds you back. If something's beyond your means of using, use whatever is going to help you create consistent content and make you happy. Because if you're not happy, you're just going to quit. And we all know those channels that take off and then they die.
Yep.
You know, they get going and then they just poof, they're gone. And especially in the motorcycle community, they're endless because somebody just got burnt out.
You want to know? So I have recently started working in a new editing software, actually. And it's because I'm trying to, I like to learn new things. I like to try keeping myself fresh with everything I'm doing. And so I have officially started working in Blender.
Interesting. Good night, Dallas. We'll miss you, sir.
Good night.
I've never heard of it.
Blender is for CGI animation and graphic rendering.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to mess with it. And so it is literally just the way I have been describing it to people is imagine you know the Bible. No, imagine you have been reading a book your entire life.
Okay.
Or like you've been reading English your entire life, just as you probably have, and you only know English. And then someone hands you a book and they say, I want you to read this and translate it for me, but it's in Portuguese.
Okay.
You have no idea what any of it's saying, except for a couple words here and there. You kind of are like, okay, I know what that word is because that's really close to English. I know what that word is because that's really close to English. But most of it, you're lost. That is exactly what Blender was to me. So essentially, you are taking literally a three-dimensional axis and you are creating anything from nothing. So you are saying, like, you want to create a donut, you first then have to create a sphere in its three-dimensional shape, and then you have to size it
and then
correctly.
build upon it, render it out. Okay.
Yeah, and then you're then also, so then you go down to the tiniest details of, like, you then have to build the sprinkles, and then you lay the sprinkles on top, but they're not right. You then have to form it over top of the frosting that you've already created. You then have to create the textures. You then have to create the colors. It's so much work. It took me, I made a 10-second video that took me 12 hours to make.
Oof.
Yeah. So you were talking about minutes per hours. Let that sink in there for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we keep circling back to this, but I think it's true. Buy whatever that you can afford. Don't go upside down for your channel. That would be at least my advice. And we've all done it. I'm not saying none of us listen to it, but also you don't need anyone that's anyone in any profession can make an argument of why you need X. Mm-hmm. But if you can't use X, it's kind of irrelevant, right? It's kind of like why Canon has an amateur line, a prosumer line, and a professional line. They're all good cameras for what they are.
Yeah.
and they have limitations, but the limitations probably are rarely hit by people that graduate from one to the other.
So, as one piece of advice I will say that also really helped me, and I will recommend anyone that starts YouTube to immediately do this. If you're thinking about doing it, they have free options already out there for you, and they are both amazing. They both do very similar things. I highly recommend getting TubeBunny and vidIQ.
Oh yes, TubeBuddy's fantastic. I haven't played with vidIQ that much. I'm a TubeBuddy
vidIQ,
guy.
I haven't played with much either, but the thing I like about them is that you can start typing in words and they start auto-generating video ideas for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, that helps you just like roll the ball in your favor automatically. So just they have free options. You don't even have to spend a dime, but just downloading them and using them, it helps you get a head start in the YouTube creator field because they're like, hey, these are the best practices that will help you be seen by more people. Here are what you should put in your tags according to your title. And it helps start putting you in the right direction to give you that little bit of a leap, that little bit of a foot in the door.
Well, yeah, and like you said, if you have a thumbnail and a title that are engaging, they're already clicked into the video, right? They're already invested at some level.
Mm-hmm.
And I know YouTube is coming out with this, but TubeBuddy has it, and Do It on a Motorcycle is the one that brought it up. Have you ever played with the A/B testing that you can do in TubeBuddy?
I don't have that level.
Yeah, just spend the money one day, just like spend the $30 for a month to try it.
I pay per year. That's why.
Okay, and you just go so down that rabbit hole that it's crazy because it really. So for people that aren't familiar with how the A/B testing works, your thumbnail can be me standing next to a Sportster, and then my next and the other thumbnail could be me standing next to, name whatever bike you want, whatever. I could actually change the title. I can actually change the context of the what the video is about, as well as all the keywording, and it's super cool. There you go.
This is one video I just released, and then same video, just different thumbnail.
Yep.
And so what it does is it literally, it just does, like you say, this is A, this is B, and it kind of like just goes like, okay, so after 2 hours, we're going to change it over to B. And then after another 2 hours, we're going to switch it back to A. And it keeps forcing that to see what performs better, and then once it sees like, oh, this one's engaging better, then it just keeps it on that.
I had put up my Chromeworks video and it did well, and I did the A/B testing, and I think it got it almost up to a 10% click-through rate, like, which for me for review is high, and it's simply based on presenting people with information that's more engaging. And where I'm trying to go this to, and I think Bob is too, is if you learn a tool like TubeBuddy, that's going to get you a better return than trying to put all your money and time into, say, gear.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying the gear's not important, but gear's not important.
So I'm actually curious. Let's talk about this for a second, and then I'm probably gonna have to call it a night. Can you open up your YouTube studio?
Sure. Okay.
What is your impressions click-through rate overall?
Impressions click-through rate overall. So we're going to analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Impression click-through rate is 5.8.
5.8. Okay. And then what is your top traffic source?
My top traffic source
type
is YouTube search at 51.1%.
That's good. And then your top external?
External is generally Facebook. No, it's Google search at 48.1.
Mm-hmm. And then what's your top YouTube search term?
For the last 28 days is Dixon flannel. Followed by Chromeworks.
So I'm sitting at 7.2% through click-through rate, which is pretty good.
Now, are you looking at the last 28 or are you looking at lifetime?
This is last 28.
Okay.
I mean, I can do lifetime real quick.
Oh, I'm just curious. I don't know what we're looking at. I'm making sure we're looking at the same thing.
Yeah. So my lifetime 6.8. YouTube search is also the number one traffic source at 47.2%. After that, it's browse feature at 23.8%, which is something I've been focusing on, actually. I've been trying to get my browse feature up more. Which I can explain that afterwards. Then top external, Google, which is having to do with the searching engine. And then my top search terms are Road King and Road King Special, which is exactly what I wanted. So the reason why I have been trying to get my browse feature is because when I started the channel, I was doing nothing what we called evergreen videos. So it would be search terms that people would always be looking for. So like I did a tire review for my tires that I know a lot of people liked on the bike, that on the fatbob that I had beforehand. I did helmet reviews that I already had. I did some glove reviews. I did some bag reviews that I already bought for the bike and stuff like that. Just evergreen videos that people are going to be always looking for. They're up there. People can, it will just always be generating simple stuff like that. But now I'm trying to lean into more the browse feature, which, because if you're not trying to get more into the browse, your video is not going to be directed to more people. It's not going to be a more generational thing to where like, oh, this person put out a video, I want to watch it. It's not the longevity, in my opinion. Like if you're doing nothing but reviews, if you make another review, that person that already subscribed to your channel may not be interested in that product that you put out a review. So thus that product isn't going to get the views that you're necessarily wanting.
Reviews, yes. I think reviews are a double-edged sword, right? Yes. Because my Legends video is a highly rated review. You can tell when the seasons change. You can watch the analytics as it goes up and down through upgrade season. But to your point, the double-edged sort of that is you may have someone that comes to your channel and goes, oh man, this was a really great video that like gave me a lot of in-depth information. I loved it. I'm going to subscribe. When's the next time I'm going to do a Legends video?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It may be a follow-up, but yes, that's a really interesting point. I never thought about that or in that context, because if you draw them in with a more shotgun approach, you don't have to die on the hill of certain videos.
You're getting much more long-term subscribers in that sense. And I have noticed that, especially because I had the motorcycle crash video, which literally shotgun effect and the amount of subscribers that subscribe from that video. But I'm still seeing subscribers on the browse feature video that I'm trying to get out there, because they're coming up, and I'm noticing that more people are staying longer because of that. I'm also noticing that like I'm seeing some people unsubscribe because they came for the crash video and now they want to leave because they're like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting.
Yes. And I think that there's I think you need to kind of find yourself a wide base, but then sort of work that base. You know what I mean? Like it's the same with you get with your I'm thinking of the term and I'm going blank because I'm like you, I'm getting fried. The
2.5 hours.
Yeah, sorry about that. But if you look at like your CPM, or you look at your RPM, your revolutions per click per minute, whatever term they want to use, where people sometimes miss the boat on the opposite end is you could have a very successful video, but if that video is not being targeted to a demographic that has expendable income, you're getting nowhere. Well, you're not getting nowhere. I don't mean to just frown you, but let's look at it in a very broad stroke. If you're riding a touring bike, you have more disposable income theoretically than someone that's driving an 883 Sportster, because that's a person that's probably going to tour. That's a person that's going to do X. However, the 883 video is going to be who I want to hit if I want new riders.
The 5 cheapest way to upgrade your suspension on a Sportster.
Yes, get a new bike.
It's the cheapest.
Well, it's only a monthly payment. But yeah, no, we could talk this to death. But this is good. This needs to be another conversation. I really appreciate this.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here.
I find it funny, and I mean no disrespect. I love my followers to death, and they should hopefully know that. But I do find it funny when people are like, but we're not talking about motorcycles. That's the beyond the rider part. Some days we don't stray from that. And some days we just go down the rabbit hole. And that's, it's fun. I think it's what makes it fun.
I mean, I'm happy to always talk more about motorcycles whenever that time comes.
Hell yeah, man. So we're going to, wow, we hit an hour. I couldn't even tell you last time we did a 2.5 hour stream. Well, for all of those of you who are still awake in the side chat, we greatly appreciate it. I'm going to put Fatboy Bob's. All his links are actually in the description, so please go check out his channel. And to make the point, obviously subscribers are great, but please engage if you're going to subscribe. That really does the best for all of us. I hope you guys are well, staying safe. Thank you for all of you that entered the Custom Dynamics interview or the review, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.